We are now, Sonny. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into the Band Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Lafferty, and today we are here. Wait, before we get started, here is our glorious musical intro. And I want you to know, folks, I don't just play that because my public defender has a kid going through music school right now. I play that because we're a high quality, high production values podcast. And only a high production values podcast would have that kind of musical intro. We take things very seriously here. The finest farm to table, ethically sourced, geeky conversation for your podcast listening pleasure. And today, I am humbled to have a panel of folks much more creative and accomplished than myself. Starting to my right, Mr. Alex I almost called you Thompson. I'm sorry. Alex Thomas, the current developer for Mutants and Masterminds, aspiring Kryptonian, and a novelist from Columbus, Ohio. How you doing, sir?
I'm great. I'm very happy to be here. The theme music has made sure that all of the headphone users are awake.
Well, at least it did something good. Directly below Alex is the most handsome man in Norman, Oklahoma. That is Jacob Blackmon. Jacob, how are you?
Always a pleasure to be here.
Jacob does a lot of art for a lot of RPG companies, including his own. Rogue Genius Games, I think of as your company, but that's actually Owen's company, where you do a lot of Mutants and Masterminds products under the Superpower Legends banner. Mm-hmm. And not to be forgotten, Steve Kenson on the other side. If you're watching my podcast, you don't know who Steve Kenson is. I can't help you, but Steve is the brains behind Mutants and Masterminds, Icons, so many other books in the last few decades. So, Steve, it's always a pleasure to have you, sir.
Likewise, always a pleasure to be here.
And last but not least, this handsome fellow over my side here is the creative pit boss at Ghost Show Press. He has written a lot of RPG stuff in the past, but now he is doing collections of movie criticism under the Ghost Show Press. And I understand you recently got to present some of your work at the Library of Congress virtually.
Oh, yes. It was wonderful. On Thursday, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Forum at the Library of Congress invited me to give a talk about groundbreaking and subversive science fiction movies. And I had a lovely, lovely hour talking with just a fantastically kind and supportive group of people. And it was amazing. After, I've kind of been losing like the students I'm paid to teach to like TikTok and laptops for the last 5 years, and it was so wonderful to have to like give a talk, and then afterwards people are staying late because they want copies of your notes, and it was just a wonderful experience. So nice. Tonic for the soul. But I mean, between that and the movie we're going to talk about, it's been a fantastic 3 or 4 days, really. both combined leave my soul in much better condition than it started.
All right, I'm chuffed to hear that because I help you with those books, and I'm very happy they're getting that kind of acclaim. One sad note before we get started. Steve, I can talk about this, or would you or Alex prefer to talk about this?
Oh, so the URL that you're seeing on your screen is for a GoFundMe that Green Ronin Publishing has started in relationship to the bankruptcy of Diamond Comics Distribution. For folks who are not familiar, in brief, Diamond declared bankruptcy some time ago, was sold off, and as part of the bankruptcy process, is now attempting to claim and sell off all of the consignment product that Diamond has in its warehouses, including quite a bit of product that belongs to Green Ronin, and a number of other publishers. The publishers involved are working on a legal case to prevent that from happening, because, of course, they rightly say that that product still belongs to them and should not be sold at a bargain price in order to pay for Diamond's considerable debts.
Mm-hmm. So tinyurl.com/Green Ronin Legal. Check it out. It's a good cause. I mean, basically, this is theft from other folks in the creative industries, and fuck those guys. Help Green Ronin oppose this legally. So
yeah.
Legal theft in Lex Luthor's America. Downvote.
Right? Who'd have thought?
Fair enough. All right. So first off, Boy, I think everyone has opinions, and I'm trying to figure out where to start. Alex, you are the guest who's been on least often, so I would like to get your point of view on this movie. This movie being Superman, which came out like Thursday. I think we've all seen it in the last week or so. So, Alex, what was your impression on this movie?
Well, I have been a convert of the Church of Gunn for a very long time. I've been a fan of James Gunn's from Super and from the Scooby-Doo live action stuff he did when I was a kid, and turning Guardians of the Galaxy into a household name. And I've just always believed in his sort of quirky, fun but traumatic style of storytelling. It really resonates with how I tell my stories. And this movie was everything I wanted it to be and more. It felt like a comic book come to life. I think it's my favorite Lex Luthor in a movie I've ever seen. Crypto was amazing. Yeah, David Cornsweet, I think, did a fantastic job of just being Superman. Like, I've only seen him in a couple other things before, so I didn't have that preconceived like face association with him as but Superman. So Superman's a superhero, and this was a knockout of the park for me personally.
I believe he was in Twisters as the bad guy. But,
he was in Pearl as a poor innocent movie projectionist from Kansas or Texas.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I kind of wish they'd call the movie Crypto, but I understand that wouldn't do his play as well. So, let's move around. Below Alex is Jacob. Jacob, so
I just saw this movie this morning, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Superman acted in Superman ways. He was noble and virtuous and heroic, and he did Superman things, which was basically being his great firefighter self and making sure that people survive despite dangerous, deadly odds. And I think this is perhaps now one of the best representations of the hero, certainly since the Christopher Reeve movies.
I would agree with all that. How do you feel about Guy Gardner?
Oh, this was the perfect Guy Gardner. It was just an excellent cast, and it was like he popped right out of the comics.
Just throw in briefly that if James Gunn had to have a Green Lantern in his movie and James Gunn was going to write him, thank God it was Guy Gardner.
Yeah.
That's the Lantern James Gunn should be writing.
Well, I think if they use Kyle Rayner, they have to give Ron Mars a $120, and DC doesn't want to do that. So yeah, somebody else. Steve, what do you think?
The movie was delightful. I mean, in some regards, I don't want to say the bar was set especially low, just in the sense that, really, I read somebody said basically, James Gunn's, only job was to make a movie that wasn't terrible. And in that he most certainly succeeded. I mean, the movie's fun. It's charming. It is really captures a lot of the vibe of the character. It clearly loves the source material. It to me felt like the season finale of a opening season of a really cool Superman show that we didn't see. In a lot of ways. But it was I think they were really smart to skip over a lot of the origin story and a lot of just all the stuff everyone knows, at this point, and just be like, everyone, it's like, it's, they start right out with, it's Superman. We all know what we're doing, right? Okay.
I saw a quote from James Gunn about 3 things he never needs to see in a superhero movie again, and it's Peter Parker getting bit by the spider, Mrs. Wayne's pearls falling in a dark alley,
and a tiny rocket ship flying away from Krypton. Yep.
We've seen that stuff in multiple movies. We'll take it as read that these things happen. So
right.
And by not showing any of that, the film sets up some great surprises later on.
It does. It does. Where are we on spoilers as far as that goes, Mike?
Yeah, that's fair. Listen, anybody, if you're watching the show and you don't want to get spoiled, you should go away right now.
Because we are going to talk about things that happened in the film.
Yes. Go watch the movie.
Right.
You know what? James Gunn is the guest star in this week's Rick and Morty. Go watch that. That's kind of fun. Lots of sharp critique of writing and Hollywood in general. You'll enjoy it, and then you can come back and watch this when you've seen Superman. So I've had my spoiler mofo banner scrolling across the bottom, just so we're covered. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry. Go ahead, Steve. Goddamn. Sorry.
Oh, so I mean, it was great. I mean, like any, honestly, like any superhero film, because I'm a superhero nerd, there are like, I wouldn't have done it that way moments, but overall, I really liked it. Crypto is a giant scene stealer. And I was sold on that from like the moment the first preview of that happened. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm good. Like I have great confidence in this movie now.
Bad dog.
And I particularly loved the chemistry between the leads. I thought that the Clark and Lois relationship was really believable, and really I just liked them as a couple. And I thought that the Superman Luthor relationship was on point and very well done overall. And honestly, if you can get those notes right, everything else is just a bonus.
I would agree. Hey, the picture I have up right now, they released this as one of the early promo images, and then it's just background.
And ironically, right, it's just a background scene that doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Which is very funny.
And he just says, "Oh, it's a dimensional imp," and I'm like, he just got Metzelplick into the DC, didn't he? And in the background, as a bit player, maybe I get Metzelplick. So, Chris, I saved you for last because I suspect you're going to have lots of thoughts that will spur lots and lots of conversation. So.
That is the kindest way of saying I don't know when to shut the hell up. You're free to tell me when I ramble, but the main thing that surprised me was there were no surprises, because I was assured by so many experts on the internet who, despite never having seen the movie, were telling me that I was going to be incredibly offended by this MAGA hating, but also simultaneously mega woke Superman. And I walked into a James Gunn movie and got a James Gunn movie. Wow, it's almost like the internet lied to us. But yeah, but that receipt cashed. Thank God we got a James Gunn movie. Thank God we got this James Gunn movie. What a perfect movie at a perfect time. It is like its main character. It is charmingly imperfect. Its heart is in the right place, and it's always doing its best. It's the same film on a direct level and a meta level. There's no gap between the two. That was so amazing. And I saw somebody who liked the movie. This was not intended as a criticism, but was noting how this isn't the wise Superman that we especially got during like the Silver Age.
Yeah.
And I started thinking like, well, but isn't that perfect? I mean, if you're going to make a movie that you expect people to pay actual money to go see, aren't you way better off giving us this more Marvelized Superman? And I have to admit, I kind of dig the Marvelized Superman a lot more than I do most of the comic book versions. I kind of wonder if this might not be one of those things like Harley Quinn that drifts over from other media into the mainstream comic. We won't be seeing this more Marvelized Superman in the other media representations. But to me, absolutely perfect, because
it was charming to see, that they started with it being roughly 3 years into Superman's career, and that he's not the experienced Superman,
Yeah.
that we all know and love. He and Lois are just starting to date. He's only been a superhero for a short while. He hasn't encountered a lot of his rogues gallery yet, we assume. I mean, and so there's still a lot of development left to happen with the character. And I both loved and was deeply disturbed by the fact that both Superman and Lois are punk 90s kids.
As a non-punk 90s kid, I am also disturbed by it.
Right.
It's like the episode of The Simpsons where now Marge and Homer are supposed to have met during the grunge era.
Right.
I wasn't ready for that either. But before I yield the floor, I have to talk about one other aspect of the film that I absolutely loved way more than I was expecting. And I apologize as a lifelong McLaughlin. I always feel bad when I don't know how to pronounce somebody else's name. But the actor that played Mr. Terrific, and is it Edie Gathegi? Oh, I'm so sorry. I wish I should have found a way to learn your name. But oh my God, that is the Mr. Terrific I have wanted to see for 30 years since I first picked up that issue of the Spectre with him in it. I just, people. If you tell me Crypto stole the movie, I won't argue with you. But for me, that just made me want to see a Mr. Terrific movie. And one last thing, major props to DC for the most prominent original creator credit I can remember seeing in a very long time. The fact that they got Siegel and Schuster on there relatively quickly and very bigly.
Yeah, really a trend I hope to see continue.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually they have that kind of credit in really tiny print during the huge mass of credits towards the end.
Yeah.
So the fact that they did that towards the beginning of the end credits, that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
If Siegel and Schuster had been on the list with Chuck Austin, I might have torn my seat up out of the bolts and thrown it at the screen.
It's with all the movies that Warner Brothers has been killing, I feel like they needed to buy back some goodwill with this one. I mean,
one hopes.
If you like the Flash movie or not, but I mean, Batgirl was done with Michael Keaton as a cameo, and it's never going to be released, and it's
Yeah.
So you think there's a chart somewhere at DC headquarters where it's like, don't cast a would-be sex cult leader with multiple criminal charges to Flash. There's a little checklist left over from that era.
I mean, one would hope had they known in advance. I mean, but it's Hollywood, so who knows?
Yeah.
To paraphrase Otter in Animal House, you fucked up. You trusted Zack Snyder.
Yeah. Well.
Zack Snyder is also in this week's Rick and Morty. Michael Mendoza, a commenter, says, interesting it took 3 years for face-to-face with Luthor. That is an interesting point.
Man plans.
They already had a hero-villain relationship before being in the same room. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, right. Luthor operates remotely very clearly in this.
Yeah, it took me a minute to warm up to the calling out the fight shots like a Super Smash Brothers character for Luthor.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of that audience that's going to relate to that.
Yeah. No, it was I warmed up to it, but I was like, man.
But can we talk about how, what a 21st century touch it is that Luthor has a corporate team of acolytes who very enthusiastically want to carry out his plans.
Yeah, that was maybe the most pointed commentary I thought in the whole movie.
My favorite commentary was the monkey robots trying to make everybody.
The monkey robots on social media.
Yeah,
I need to hire some monkey robots to do my social media.
You wonder if he was making reference to some other filmmaker whose terrible movies keep getting redone because of an army of Russian bots and crybullies on the internet. I wonder, yeah, it seems like that resembles somebody. I can't quite put my finger on who, but
Speaking of resemblances, Michael Mendoza points out that 21 Luthor has his own personal Doge. Yeah, he has an organization doing bidding. So yeah, I can see that.
Yes.
Alex, let me ask you a question. Omni-Man, and I will put up my banner so no one can get mad. This is a spoiler.
Ultraman, isn't he?
Omni-Man or Ultraman?
Ultraman.
So is that supposed to be Bizarro or supposed to be Connor Kent?
So I'm positive that he is going to be Bizarro because he fell into a black hole with a bunch of cubes. I was like, oh, he's in a weird square universe now. I wonder what that could be.
I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point.
I sincerely hope Alex is right.
When they called him Ultraman at the very beginning, I had an inkling of what they were doing with the character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
especially
as soon as they didn't show his face.
Especially because they didn't
Superman.
show his face, and they specifically brought him in the scene where they infiltrated the fortress.
A fortress, right?
So I knew pretty much what they were doing with Ultraman, and that they were combining characters, because Ultraman being the counter universe Superman, of course, is going to be what they call the clone, because you don't call your clone Bizarro.
Right.
That's a very 60s thing. You give him a proper name.
Like Gary.
I hope this doesn't mean we won't get the Crime Syndicate at some point, but it feels like maybe, since Ultraman's the evil Superman that is a member of the Crime Syndicate.
It does feel like they're setting up this for a whole universe of content, right?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's Gunn's mandate, is to reboot a shared universe. So.
This movie felt like an already lived in DC universe, because you had so many characters that we really didn't need introductions to, because as comic book fans, you knew who they were. You knew who Maxwell Lord was when he showed up.
Well, so Peacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Peacemaker, but they should have known what James Gunn's politics were when they had him shoot his Nazi dad in the forehead. Like, that was a surprise to anybody.
Yeah, I concede your point. I will also say I don't recall any talk on there about him being an immigrant, at least in the context of the current political discourse. I mean, him being an alien came up a lot.
No discussion of it at all.
It's almost like a bunch of people desperately needed that to be there, rather than it actually being there.
Yeah, I try to stay off social media as much as I can these days, or I just post cat pictures. But oh, the culture war. Why are you hating a movie you haven't seen, and why are you inventing reasons to hate a movie you haven't seen? I know
the idea of Superman being a symbol of goodness and justice in this world is just the fact that people can't stand it. It kills me in my heart.
Hey, let's give it credit to James. My wife and I were waiting for the James Gunn brother cameo, and what a great one line to have. Republicans and Democrats both can agree about Lex
Luthor sucks.
Yes,
Sean Gunn was playing Max Lord, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean Gunn.
Let's hope he survives this encounter with Wonder Woman. But all right, Mr. Mendoza has been very patient in saying, I hope to talk about Jimmy Olsen's irresistibility. I have a theory about that.
Well, don't keep us in suspense, Michael. Share it with us.
We would like to hear what you have to say on that.
We'd love to hear your theory.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's doughy guys that spend a lot of time on the internet are irresistible to women.
My personal research in that field.
While we were speaking of Jimmy, and while we were waiting for Michael's theory, I also wanted to point out that I love the role that journalism plays ultimately, both in the story and in Luthor's defeat. That really, ultimately, Superman hasn't beaten Luthor until, of course, Lois and the Daily Planet staff have exposed Luthor for the criminal that he is to the entire world with proof. As a proper journalist should.
That might be the most hopeful part of the movie. That journalism can still
journalism actually works.
I can top that.
Okay.
The most hopeful part of the movie is that there's still a huge majority of people that if you present them with well-sourced evidence, they will not only hear it, they will believe it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
That was the best part of Andor season 2.
The recent wet weather control conspiracy theories floating around out there have made me doubt that. Oh, hey, here we go. Michael Mendoza.
Mm-hmm.
In tribute to Jimmy Olsen's wacky Silver Age adventures, my headcanon is that he has a love story in him. Women find him irresistible, but not Lois because she's too strong-willed. That's not a bad theory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nope,
I can
not
see
at all.
that. I can see
Not
that.
at all. I mean, if Jimmy's Silver Age adventures indicate anything, he is some kind of strange attractor, both literally and figuratively. So one can imagine all kinds of strange things and people are drawn to him.
Yeah. I hope.
That's brilliant. In
Yeah,
fact,
I want a
how about-
Jimmy Olsen show in this universe that just does the wacky Silver Age adventures.
How about this? I don't know how many. I mean, obviously they've got big plans for the Superman cast. How about every time we see Jimmy Olsen in between the previous movie, he's got another weird curse on him, and we only find out about it in the middle.
Right.
I hope he's a werewolf in episode movie 2.
He strolls in the next movie and he's a werewolf. We don't know why. He's just a werewolf.
Right.
Just like, hey, Jimmy's still dealing with the werewolf
in the
thing.
background.
Nick says that's why I said it wasn't a relationship with Eve, because her attraction is compelled, and that is actually a better explanation than I think that the movie's implicit plot line is just Jimmy's a good guy, taking one for the team.
Yeah.
I find funny, but I'm an old man with an inappropriate sense of humor, and it's probably.
I just hope we're not on to Star Fox territory.
One hopes not. That's a little
I
disturbing.
just finished the Roger Stern run on Avengers, and I just when I thought I could.
Yeah, that has not aged well.
So what is next for DC movies? I know they have a Lanterns HBO series coming.
There's going to be Peacekeeper season 2 in August. That's the next thing I know that's coming up.
And I think they're filming a Supergirl thing right now.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Which the end of this movie may have hinted at.
And the weird one, Gunn keeps talking about how much he loves this Clayface script that somebody sent him.
How many times is Alan Tudyk going to show up as a different character in this DC universe?
As many as humanly possible, I hope.
I didn't catch it until I was leaving the theater, but Michael Rooker does another one of the Superman robot voice, and the actor that plays Mantis, whose name I also can't pronounce, is one of the others.
I was unaware.
That's my only complaint about the movie was when he was talking to the Alan Tudyk robot and he didn't make his name Kellex. I was like, I want Kellex in this movie so bad. But Gary's a fine name, I guess.
Gary's fine.
It could be much, much worse than Gary. I mean, it should be worse than Gary.
I am just delighted to have a movie where we got Superman robots.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think this is the first time they've in a film they've really represented Superman with all his stuff, because you never usually get to see him with all his stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, the Superman robots even got beat up. Poor guys.
Yep.
I'm glad it was 20 minutes.
That's the first law of robots in comic books. Is that you can always do the most horrific violence to the robots. It's why the Vision and Red Tornado are constantly getting ripped in half or getting their heads severed or whatnot, is because you can do that.
Can we talk about when Lex Luthor shot that guy in the head? That was crazy.
Ooh,
I was like, oh my god. All right, now it's a James Gunn movie.
Robots with capes, I love that. They weren't going for goofy, redeemable Lex Luthor. This was he tortures dogs and shoots hummus vendors in the head, and Yeah,
I was like, on the second try, that's a bad luck for Russian roulette.
It's just like role playing games. Sometimes you roll a crit, you don't mean to, but it's there. So.
Yeah.
Then he was like, I'm going to go get Clark Kent. And if I was Superman, I'd been like, yeah, you better not come back till you come back with my boyfriend. Really play it up. Get Lex looking for him forever.
Mike says the execution was the reason why my sister by taking regards to the movie. Yeah, I felt bad with my 12-year-old next to me.
That would definitely make it a warning for kids, in my opinion.
I would say that's maybe a PG-13. I buy, there's a Cry's Closet China Hut shit, my kid's martial arts place, where they get little tokens for doing good kicks or whatever in class.
Yeah.
But it's just it's one of those things that provides the definition between Lex and Superman.
It does.
Superman prizes life, no matter what life it is. Lex doesn't care about anyone but himself.
Yeah.
Let me throw something out real quick. Now, I have a $200 Herschel Gordon Lewis box set complete with Blood Feast. Color Me Blood. I'm not a prude, but would it have killed the movie if they would have cut away and not shown the actual shot?
No. Honestly, it wouldn't have killed the movie if they had taken that scene out, in my opinion.
Except that it motivates. That it motivates another character to have it happen.
I get that, but
I think you need something there to make Lex irredeemable and have Rex Mason do his heel turn, his face turn. But there were other options there.
Yeah.
How about Rex Mason in this movie?
Yeah, I mean,
prosthetics. Oh my God!
Yeah. I'm actually fond of the trend of returning to practical effects in a lot of movies.
Yes.
Steve, I'm sorry, I was laughing at Michael Mendoza's squirrel remark. What'd you say?
Yep.
You can see
love
that whole thing with the squirrel scene.
Yeah.
The squirrel scene is the whole movie in like 5 seconds.
In no pun intended, a nutshell.
I don't know if you saw the MST3K reunion show, but they riffed the classic George Reeves Stamp Day for Superman short, where George Reeves is telling kids the fun of buying government bonds. And it's in 2016, and Bill Corbett introduces that with, for those of you that only know Superman as a heartless killing machine, he used to be a doughy 1950s guy. And that's always stuck with me, like how many people have no conception that this James Gunn is closer to what Superman has always been.
Yeah.
It's
Poor Jimmy.
Yep. Old Jimmy.
Look forward to this.
My favorite cover is when Superman's got a pitcher of water and Aquaman and Jimmy in the desert. Like, only one of you can drink.
Yeah.
Is the second Jimmy from the right where Jimmy was trying to be like Stan Lee circa 1970?
Let me share it again, see how he describes them. That last
about the time Stan was doing his live Carnegie Hall show.
Could be.
That looks like Abe Lincoln.
I was just gonna say.
Is that Burl Ives? Yeah, he's got gray, hairy hands. Is that Werewolf Jimmy? I don't know.
Wolfman Jimmy.
Yeah.
Oh, Steve, in the actual play last night, we had a Jimmy Olsen for Centurion. I couldn't think of a name for him, so I was like, his name's Oimi Jelson.
His name is Manny Bothans. Mendoza says Luthor could have kneecapped Malik Ali with a sledgehammer. Nasty, but that's they wanted you to hate Luthor a little bit in this movie. Obligatory reference to Super Dickery website. Indeed. It's the Olsen gang. Name approval pending.
Especially if you cut away from the sledgehammer, did all with a sound effect.
Yeah.
Just let the audience fill in that like cracking gushy sound.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Squelching intensifies.
Right.
Yes.
It's my favorite subtitle on Stranger Things.
So, the black hole, dimensional drift beneath Metropolis, that should have just destroyed everything in the North American continent pretty quickly, and then shortly after the planet, right?
I think everything. I think probably the whole world. I think I've seen some models of what if you put a black hole that was like the size of a golf ball on Earth, what would happen? And it's just pretty much instantly the whole planet absorbed.
I mean, if we're gonna bring science into this, we might as well just give it up. I mean,
here's why I bring it up. You guys remember the Batman Lego movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember at the end where Gotham City's being torn apart, and they all have to take off their hats and connect their heads together to pull the city back together? That's kind of what it reminded me going happening in Metropolis, where the city's being torn apart. And
legit.
Anyway. Yeah.
Mike, if you're wondering how he eats and breathes and other science facts, you should repeat to yourself, it's just a show. I should really just relax.
My
Right.
kid was like, "How's he breathe in space? How's he hanging out on the moon with
He's
crypto?"
Superman.
He's Superman.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey,
I love,
I find your movie about an indestructible alien dog implausible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Honestly, I loved some of the just sheer Silver Age wackiness of Lex Luthor being like, "Yeah, I created a pocket universe," like you do.
And Mr. Terrific being so pissed about it.
Right.
Yeah,
Of course he
I'll
did.
blog say
You
about it.
never do
Go
that.
ahead, create a pocket universe.
Yeah. Speaking
That's
of the
unsafe.
squirrel scene, I really loved how Superman was like, "There's got to be a way to get this monster to a zoo. We don't have to kill this monster."
Right. Right.
And Mr. Terrific was like, "Oh, quit being it. Just shoot it in the eyes. It's fine."
It's a scene that the editor probably cuts too quickly on, but the scene where he tries to talk the engineer out of being a villain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could have been longer.
That they cut too quickly on it, but the intent there was just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Michael Mendoza mentions that that Silver Age wackiness is a lot like Morrison's JLA. Yeah, it also reminds me of Morrison's All-Star Superman, which really
Yes.
embraced that
Mhm.
notion.
It's one of my
There
favorite
were-
Superman stories.
There were a lot of nods to that, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Gunn fully admitted that he drew a lot of inspiration from All-Star Superman for this film.
It shows. Yeah.
So speaking of Silver Age wackiness, I watched this at Alamo Drafthouse. And they did a little featurette before the film. Yeah, that's my promo. Alamo Drafthouse. They're okay, and they're talking about animals in the Superman universe in the Silver Age, and they get to Streaky the Superhorse.
Comet the Super Horse.
Comet the Super
Yeah,
Horse.
the Super
Streaky's a cat.
Yeah, sorry,
They
Streaky.
did talk about Streaky, yes.
Yes.
And she looks at me.
They
she's
talk
like,
about Comet's relationship with Supergirl.
Oh God, yes.
They didn't
Oh.
go into too much detail. They were just like, yeah, this was there was a sort of romantic thing, and I'm like, yeah, we don't talk about that anymore. It was really weird. It's
Right.
even by the lights of the Silver Age, Comet the Super Horse and the weird romantic centaur thing was just, yeah. Mr. Mendoza says sometimes I quibble about whether Superman should have shown some pity for his clone, but he'd been through a hell of a prolonged beating, so it's understandable. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called Road for Character Development.
it was a rough couple days for Clark. I mean,
Yeah, to be sure.
you find out your parents are fascists. This guy is laser beaming your eyes. Your girlfriend almost breaks up with you for almost no reason. It's a rough time.
Yeah.
That was my one quibble, was I don't like Krypton as invader.
Yeah, I'm not a big
Yeah.
fan of it either,
Allegory.
honestly. And it felt ironically unnecessary in the sense that it didn't have to have been true. I think Luthor could have very easily lied about that and gotten away with it.
Yeah.
People were
The harem
prepared
thing
to
was a little
believe
weird
it,
too.
you
But
know.
if you lose that, you lose the scene where his dad talks to him about parenting and the choices that your that children are making.
Yeah,
And
and I thought that
made-
scene was
made it
great.
worthwhile. That made it worthwhile because honestly,
Yeah.
the more that Superman is an American guy trying to keep down a job at a dying industry, and the less he's a guy that knows Kryptonian kung fu, that's a better Superman for me and a better one for a movie universe.
Absolutely.
That was the second time I cried in the movie, though, when I felt Clark's betrayal at that, because he had built his whole life on the idea that his parents sent him here to be a good person and a servant.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think David Cornswet did a great job of selling that sort of that
I agree.
shock.
I agree. I mean, John Byrne had the theory that it was essential for Superman to reject his Kryptonian heritage in order for him to be human, essentially. And I don't know that I entirely agree with that. I think that he can be both. And I think that it actually speaks more to the immigrant experience of balancing your home, your culture you came from with the culture, of the place where you live. But I get the reasons why it was intended to be a compelling element.
I agree with Michael saying I'm not fine with Krypton sucking, but it was Jor-El and Laura sucking that really hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fine with Krypton being evil or whatever, as long as his parents are not. because I don't know.
Well, they were trying to, there was a lot turning on how does Clark think of himself? Who does he think his parents are?
Yeah.
That was-
Yeah, but
I love
it was
at the end where they have his like home videos from growing up in Smallville for the
Yeah, that was sweet.
at the end. Yeah.
Well, if you're trying to write drama for motion pictures, if you present a character that has a biological family that's dysfunctional that he can't relate to, and he found his happy with an adoptive family, that I think that people are gonna relate to that a lot more than a guy that has two perfect sets of parents.
Sure.
Could be fair. Is this the time of the show? I'm going to talk about Ironheart.
Whatever you want.
Unless anyone has anything left to say about Superman.
Professor McGee says 4 stars. Check it out.
Yeah, obviously very well worth seeing.
Yeah, I think I give it a 9.5 out of 10, but I grade on a different scale than professors.
Yeah, for the first time in years, I'm looking forward to a sequel from Warner Brothers in their Superman.
Yeah, right.
So that's good for me.
If you go back to Alamo Draft House, get the chicken wrap. The Smallville chicken wrap. You'll thank me.
I wish we had an Alamo Draft House in Columbus.
Oh, I wish I could mail you one of these chicken wraps.
It probably won't travel well.
I know.
Mike, it's been great having you as a commenter, sir. We will check you later.
Indeed.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks.
I've got a lot more thoughts about this, but that could be another podcast. I was gonna. I have quibbles, but I got a movie where they had Metamorpho and it was cool.
Right.
Where they had Guy Gardner and it was pitch perfect. I got a movie with a good Mr. Terrific. I got a movie where it seems like they used that one, the building in Pennsylvania that looks like the Hall of Justice. It looks like they actually filmed inside that building.
They did in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It was in Ohio.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I almost went down there just to see if I could get like a glimpse of Superman, but I was busy that day.
Speaking of the Hall, have you read? Did you notice the mural?
Not really. No.
It's so hard to notice because there's funny business with Nathan Fillion going on. But if you look really closely at that mural, like the Jay Garrick Flash is up there, Super Chief, Black Pirate. It's like the artists were trying to trump each other on like obscure DC references. If like Captain Compass and Detective Chimp were up there, it would have just been. I just love that. It's up there. I love that.
I think that could be a fun avenue of discussion. Is metahumans have been public knowledge for 300 years.
300
Who's
years.
the like 1700s Justice League, Justice Society?
Which is conveniently right around the era of Black Pirate. But
ooh, yeah.
Not the human octopus.
So Ironheart. Steve and Jacob have seen it. Jacob, you had a lot of enthusiasm for this, so I'm going to let you start off the conversation.
Okay. Yeah, I really enjoy the character of Riri Williams, especially as a passing of the flag or passing of the torch to the younger generation, which most comic books need to have happened long ago, but only really in the last 10, 15 years have been doing it. Because we've established these characters, we're going to keep telling stories with them. It's like there's only so many fresh stories you can tell with the same heroes. So, and especially considering how many of them are white men. So the fact that we have this wonderful new character in Riri Williams, who is just as smart and just as motivated by the things and tragedies of her past to build what she builds whether or not she admits it, because she has trouble admitting why she builds what she builds, even though the reason why is clear as day, based on what we see.
Some people are a little last to know.
It was a fun story. I, much like Mike, I had some problems with the Mephisto angle. In I didn't mind Mephisto being there, especially as the origin of the Hood's powers. That was fine. What I didn't like, and this is a huge spoiler for the very last episode, is Riri Williams, who is supposed to be smart, entering into a deal with the devil.
But the interesting thing about that is that one of the things that the whole series establishes is that Riri is really intelligent and not very smart. In the sense that she's
high end, low wisdom.
Well, yeah, she's a kid. She's brilliant. I mean, the whole point that she's a genius engineer. But she clearly goes through a whole series of bad decisions throughout the series, in terms of just, getting, losing her situation at MIT, ending up back at home, ending up falling into this with the Hood's criminal gang, thinking she's smart enough to, be able to just walk away from that situation whenever she feels like it, etc. It's just a whole series of almost painful to watch. Like, why are you doing this? Until you get like, she's a kid, and so it's in spite of her vast technical skills, she on a certain level she's just dumb, and she's doing all of the dumb things that kids do, and I think the interesting thing about Riri, in addition to just that whole situation, is that she's the character who has the brilliant capabilities of a Tony Stark type, but none of his means. And what do you do when you're like that brilliant and you can build anything, but you can't pay the bills? And you have to be hunting through junk shops and junkyards and the like, to get the stuff you need, and it was an interesting, sort of juxtaposition of that, so far as it went.
The only thing that I really wish they had done with this series to demonstrate that she is still really intelligent and creative is once she figured out that her enemy was magical in nature and got access to a person who is magical. Yay, Zelma Stanton showing up as a character. I loved her in Strange Academy, so I'm glad to see her in the MCU.
Yeah, that was delightful.
I was hoping that she might study magic herself, because it is known, if for anyone who's read the Ohatmu, anyone can learn magic. You don't have to be a born sorcerer or have it in your blood or something. Anyone can learn magic. You just have to sit down and study and practice it. And I would love to have had Riri do that and integrate the magic into her thing. So it kind of lead to that. She's potentially filling in that Doctor Doom role there, where she has both. She's smart enough to both utilize magic and technology. I think that would have been a fun way to separate her, additionally, from Tony.
Yeah, indeed. But it was a fun series. I liked some of the sort of, heist series aspects to it. But there were definitely parts of it I thought that were a little too long, honestly.
That's been an issue I've had with every Disney Plus series I've ever watched, whether it's the Marvel Universe, the Star Wars universe, or the Mighty Ducks universe. They're just kind of cranking out the content and not really thinking about editing it for the user's experience. It's my environment. I didn't watch this show. So, and Alexander Thomas, who is that? Another Clipper commentator.
Some guy trying not to interrupt the nice conversation.
Well, Alex, your thoughts are always welcome, but I know you haven't seen it all yet. So,
if I'd known that this show had so much magic in it, I would have watched it day one. I have a lot of trouble caring about technological superheroes. Just as a superhero fan, I love magic stuff. I love aliens. I love metahumans. It's just science. I'm just not a smart guy.
But hey, this series finally gives a lot of superhero fans something they're constantly complaining about. In that why is the villain always the hero? Just with a different origin. They're, tech guy against tech guy, and
totally different,
and mutant against mutant. This was a tech user against a magic user.
Yeah, which
this is exactly what everyone has been asking for.
In and of itself is an interesting sort of milestone for the MCU. In terms of its ongoing development. The MCU has definitely gotten to the point where there are a lot of sort of very discrete silos of, people, where people get powers, from. There's, all of your super soldiers and all of your magic users and all of your powered armor types and, what have you. And now they are definitely starting to cross the streams a bit. And we're starting to see some of that interaction. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I really like the MCU's take on magic. I thought Agatha All Along was awesome.
Yes, Agatha All Along is an absolute delight, which I will talk about for hours if anybody wants me to. But
I'm here for the Steve Kenson Billy podcast.
Yeah. Well, I will simply say that if you can produce a series that is entitled Agatha All Along, and make the fact that it was Agatha all along a surprise in the end, well done.
Man.
I'm sure the song doesn't hurt because the song is catchy and fun, and is on my list right there next to the K-pop Demon Hunter songs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so if that is your flavor, vodka, check it out. I understand Sacha Baron Cohen is not doing Borat as Mephisto, which I find doubly disappointing. But
this is the first thing I've seen Sacha Baron Cohen in. I specifically do not enjoy his style of humor, and I have thus never watched his movies.
Yeah, I agree, but honestly, I have to say, I thought his Mephisto was pretty good.
Yeah, and when he showed up, because they keep alluding that it's potentially Dormammu, and when he shows up and at the beginning of the first episode, and he's talking with the hood, and it's like, oh, this isn't Dormammu. This is Mephisto. This is well before he introduces himself.
Which is a comic book fake out because, of course, it is Dormammu for the Hood's origin in the comics.
That's Sacha Baron Cohen doing that? I've seen the monologue. I've seen the short. Wow. I was like, he looks a lot like Timothy Odmanson right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, folks, we're been talking for an hour. Shall we wrap things up?
Fair enough.
Fire leave.
One last time, tinyurl.com/GrandRoninLegal.
Yes.
Diamond is trying to legally commit theft, and they shouldn't be able to do that. But that costs money. So How about our
Indeed.
friends at Green Ronin? And Chris, I was enjoying the close-up of your beard earlier. Thank you for that, sir.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you dropped your camera earlier. We had a close-up of your chin. We were looking at you.
Oh,
Your-
well,
your goatee.
my apologies. I didn't
Thank you.
not realize. Can I make up for it by urging people to go to Facebook and look up the Go Show Press page, because the next couple of days we're going to have the pre-launch link for Everyone's Gone to the Movies Volume 5, and
Oh, fantastic!
what we're doing in Volume 5.
Yes, shill your things. It is always welcome. They are wonderful books.
Thank you. I just got the cover from Hal Mangold, and I'm excited for other humans to see it.
When is that Kickstarter happening?
Well, we're hoping to launch right around the 1st of September. But if it's one, it said that God loves children drunks in the United States of America, but apparently not quite as fond of freelancers. And when you try to do something with 30 of them, you sort of place yourself in the hands of fate.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering if I need to clear my schedule for August or September for that Kickstarter. But
no earlier than September the 1st, I promise.
Okay, fair enough. You can follow Ghost Show Press at facebook.com/
Thank you.
Ghost Show Boss. I have a lot of banners, Chris, with URLs. You know why that is?
Why's that?
Because I'm a consummate professional.
Indeed. It's a high quality podcast.
It is a highest quality pod, finest. So lots of people are saying. All right. So Superman's a good movie. Check it out. It looks like it's the beginning of a new and good DC cinematic universe. So I would love to see a JLA movie.
In which DC answers the question, what if we made a cinematic universe, but it was good?
What if we put somebody in charge that didn't hate comic books and comic book fans and the characters that he's been put in charge of?
What a concept.
Just
what if the Joker didn't have a tattoo in the middle of his forehead?
These are all good questions. All right, guys. Alex, Jacob, Steve, Chris, it has been fun talking to you guys. Thank you so much for coming out. And to all of our viewers and listeners out there in the internet land, we will catch you next time on the BAM Podcast.